Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Noding. In this episode, I will be exploring kind of like a ways we can create maybe like a bush or a trees that's kind of non-photorealistic. And you might actually have seen video tutorial here by Lightning Boy Studio, where he basically made a kind of like a base mesh and sculpted, uh, and then turn it. He actually remastered it and sculpt it. And then after he do that, he have another mesh, which is just a particles instancing, and he used that to create kind of like a displacement for the normal. It's actually very interesting technique, and that's kind of like a soft result uh, because of the normal. Um, I definitely uh, recommend you to watch this first before you continue watching my one. Okay, that's basically the result with with Ghibli style background. I actually have another friend, McLellan Lee. He's a teacher artist. He's actually really good with the background, and he made um, the cloud and the trees and put it in the 3D. So it's actually really cool. My version of this is on the GIF. Okay, this is a quick demonstration. That's my bush grass. Actually, it should be playing. So that's how it is with the Ghibli background. It tends to be really soft and it kind of reside in the background, but it's something that you can watch. You can look for a long time. With the animations tend to be much simpler, but it's also nice to see. So with the NPR, that's usually the case. You want people to pay attention and focusing on the animations. In a 3D, you tend to put a lot of details everywhere. Like including the characters. But sometimes it's a good idea to balance those a little bit. So anyway, my technique. Okay, I'm using SVerchok, and also I can use animation nodes to do the instancing. So basically, the idea is like this. I'm gonna explain it. So currently, it's very complicated. So I have a way to scatter this bush, right? It's already using the shader that's recommended by Lightning Boy Studio, and I have the sun that's more or less controlling the shades of the grass. So this is the background from Studio Ghibli Wind Rises. Maybe I can just hide it for now. Okay, let's focus on the bush. So you might notice this looking a little bit, sometimes a little bit like broccoli. Sometimes if it's too much detail, yeah, it is like broccoli. If it's just the right detail, it looks kind of like a watercolor painting. So the details matter in this case. You can think of this non-photorealistic shader kind of like a displacement, normal displacement. You can, I'm pretty sure you can make the whole thing just like a shader, and it should work. You can see there the variations of the color. So the darker area and the middle one, and then the green, the brighter area. The shader is just like this. So diffuse plug into shader RGB. This is really cool, and color ramp, and you can adjust this color for the tree or for the bush. The highlight being just a little bit, not too much. And then with the lightning, you can turn on and off the shadow. Sometimes that have effects. Actually, I need to go to Eevee. Oh, interesting. The shadow is not visible. Anyhow, let's look at the bush itself. So I currently have maybe too many of these. They are all instants. You will see as soon as I delete all this. It's much simpler to understand. Just maybe even just look at nothing and then Shift A and add the collection instance. So we have one simple bush. We can control the lighting to affect the shader. Okay, this is one collection. Collection is actually pretty much like an empty, and the empty that's already have instance of the actual collections, and inside the collection itself you can see this beta. Okay, the beta objects is I think it's currently hidden. Let me turn it on. Turn off this collections. So I think this is the original beta object, and this one has modifier, and just like tutorial by Ghibli Studio, this one has this data transfer face corner data custom normals. If I turn it off, you can see it's just like a bunch of icosphere. Each one of them is shaded. If we use the data transfer custom normals from the other objects, we have the other objects currently hidden. So this is the other objects that's have its normal affecting the one with more details. I created both using SVerchok. Okay, so this is actually very interesting. This is applicable for things like trees, clouds, or the bush. This alpha. So let me turn off the beta. So this is the alpha. This is the one that gives the shader and transfer the shader into the other one that with more details. So this guy is just a box. Let me reduce the number. Box with subdivisions, and then I displace it using noise, and I randomize it if I want to. So this shading is really important. This is gonna be like the main shading for our bush, as you can see here. So that's first. Next thing I did is to scatter an instance, but in this case, because we are using SVerchok, we can also merge it, so it's become just a single object. This is the green color thing with this shader for NPR, and this is also have this data transfer thing that I mentioned again. If I turn it off, it's become just like that. If I turn it on with custom normal, it's kind of more flattened. Now I can control the radius. I can randomize this a little bit if I want to have more details. So this can be improved. If I do too much, it's just like becoming like a triangulated sharp things. Somewhere in between, however, between the icosphere ball, you can have kind of like a nice spot. It could be softer. I mean, maybe soften if you want to put it in the background like Ghibli. You can see the Ghibli because they use watercolor painted, and it's really detailed if you look at it, and it has a lot of variations. And also if you can see the grass, it's actually not simple. It's something that need to be done for hours, but it's gonna stay there as a background. In this case, we have it as a 3D and we can move it around. With Ghibli background, it tend to be just kind of like static with a little bit of parallax. Anyhow, we are trying to simulate that. Turn off the background again. So icosphere, scatter around. and then on top of that we instance it. So here I have, so this is just actually for instancing. I currently didn't instance it, but animation nodes actually can do that. And here, if I'm using SVerchok to scatter the instance, this is how we do it. I don't have any instance at the moment, or it's hidden. So let's hide the master. This is the instance, and suddenly it pops. Okay, we got it. We got the instance happening. Let's reset everything. Oh, I need to actually place it. Okay, so this is the bush. We can now play around with it. I have location. I can also randomize the scale if I want to. This is the scale of the instance. If I use vector in, okay, this is what I want. We can scatter. We can move and place it together. We can scatter with that. And we can, let's create 100 of them. So currently I have this. This is like a manual kind of business. I don't even have ways to rotate it yet in SVerchok. I can do that, but currently I'm just showing it to you the manual way. If you want to also scale it manually, it's procedural but still manual because I'm putting the number myself. You can put in random number. This is for the scale, right? And this is also something that you can use. You can use particles and instancing. That's going to be the best method for this, I suppose. Once you have this single element particle bush, but this is again still alive. You can completely procedurally change the look. So it's almost like displacement shader, but it's actually very clever, very clever the ways you use this guy and then using this original beta that's being affected by the mesh underneath. I just like it how it works together. So if you do too much, it's gonna explode like a smoke. But if you just get it right, it's almost like a NPR bush from Studio Ghibli background anime. So if we are using animation nodes on top of this, if we are interested to try that, I haven't tried that actually. So we can delete all these collections. I think animation nodes is really powerful in this case. So collection instance, collection number 2, I should have named it properly. Hopefully this works. Instance. Get our instance objects. We're gonna distribute the matrices. So we're gonna create a grid, create a bunch of instances. It's gonna copy everything. Object matrix output. So this is our instance object. This is the matrix data transform. And surprisingly, it might actually didn't work with collections as an instance. I should have used data. Oh, okay, beta it works, but we need to actually use collections. Okay, it works. With collection, of course, it's going to be faster because it's an instance and you can have many of them. So the way it's updating currently, okay, because it's rendering. Okay, we need to work in this mode, viewport shading, not the Eevee. If we are in Eevee, this one's gonna locked. Okay, now we got it working. This is animation nodes. We are randomizing the matrices, the grid. This is exactly what I want. So what is this? Oh, that's the original collections. Okay. We can have it as a grid, as a circle, spiral. So currently it's just like a cube, but we can easily randomize this more. Back to SVerchok, and this. Let's increase this to 10 by 10 by 10, and also we can randomize this. And also have a little bit more details there. Okay. I think it's not too bad. I mean, I can still play around with this sun and light directions. It's a lot of control. You know why it still looks like kind of there's like a pattern? Because we need to further randomize it with animation nodes. So matrix, we can matrix offset the matrices. And for location, rotation, and scale, we can use a fall off just to randomize this, maybe wiggle. So I suppose we can do this. Randomize the rotations, offset it, and the scale also randomized. So now we have the whole thing working as we planned it. All right. Okay, yep. Slightly complicated, the whole business, but once you understand this, it's actually really quite powerful. So it's just a matter of instancing, adding details, and the NPR shader will take care of it. And the details itself, of course, we start with a base mesh, and we scatter the details, using animation nodes, while we create a base mesh using SVerchok. So that's basically the whole thing in one sentence. You can have it as a linear. So this is linear, just like a line, like a bush, and then you want to scatter it, offset it procedurally. I mean, it doesn't need to be procedural. You can use mesh, right? This is mesh vertices. You can use Suzanne. Mesh input. So we have Suzanne head, and then we scatter this bush on top of Suzanne head, basically. Maybe my shader is not 100% perfect, but it's actually very similar. I watched the Lightning Boy Studio. I watched his tutorial one time, and I have to watch it. I have to watch it again. This part, when it looks like subsurface scattering and everything is really soft, this part is really important. Definitely watch this tutorial first, and then if you want to really do it like procedurally, you can watch my one again. So hopefully this one is interesting and useful for you. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.